Good afternoon. I'm Cindy Bertram. Thanks for joining me on Good Ship Happens. And normally I focus a lot on the shipping cruise industry, of course, too. We've got some wonderful things going on, too. By the way, just so you know, maybe, or didn't know, but guess what Tuesday, September 19th was? Anybody know? It was actually Speak or Talk Like a Pirate Day. And what do you think about when you think about pirates? Well, I think about different movies, whatever. I've been in the Caribbean too. When you think about Pirates Day, um, you say words like "ahoy mateys" or "arg," and once again, think like a pirate. But actually, Talk Like a Pirate Day actually occurred on Tuesday, September 19th. And one of my favorite memories, of course, I love talking about the cruise industry. There's some extraordinary experiences out there too. But one thing that cruise lines started doing a while back, probably about 10 years ago at least, is they started having these outdoor areas by their pools with actually big screens. They would show movies. And one movie I got a chance to see while I was sailing on Princess Cruises was actually, they had Pirates of the Caribbean. So how fun to be on a Caribbean cruise on the ocean, very safe, and you're watching Pirates of the Caribbean. But once again, just remember that next year, and remember you have to practice about how you want to speak like a pirate. Okay, so you match him with Talk Like a Pirate Day. Yes, arg. But other things that came up this week too, something really exciting happened today, and I want to share more about it too. Brightline, they started a few years ago, but what they did was they are a beautiful train transportation system service. And I had a chance to actually do a Brightline myself back on June 13th from their beautiful train station in Miami. I went all the way up to Fort Lauderdale and then back. But it was an amazing experience. I wrote about it when I got back. It's posted on LinkedIn, of course, too. But wonderful. I mean, the seats were oversized leather seats and big windows, and it was just a fast speed train, but just amazing experience. You felt like you're treated like royalty. It was just amazing. And once again, Brightline has started service. They go from, Miami is their one main train station. They go a little further south, plus they go up to Fort Lauderdale and went there. I think they go up to other places. What they did was they wanted to expand to Orlando because once again, with Brightline, what they do is they really provide a wonderful service. If people have a hard time maybe taking a flight to get from Fort Lauderdale to Miami, it's too short. You can't find a flight. And what do? Rent a car and drive? Or if you want to get from Orlando maybe to Miami or Fort Lauderdale, it's like a 3-hour drive, okay? But once again, I know they were working on the Orlando area, and they actually built a new train station right there at the airport. It's taken some time. They had to delay it, but they did was they actually did their first Making History today. It was Brightline opens between Orlando and Miami. And it was their first new passenger rail service, which is great. I was trying to find videos because they shared some videos about the event itself. But what they did was it was marking today was the official start of Brightline's passenger rail service between Orlando and Miami. And their first train, called Bright Pink, actually arrived in Orlando 11:05 this morning, as graded by more than 500 different officials, business leaders, opportunity partners, company leaders across the state of Florida. And the celebration really took an exclamation point because it was the boldest private infrastructure leaders project across Florida and the nation too. And the train service is unbelievable. It's fast speed trains, very luxurious experience too. And once again, they actually originally launched their operations in South Florida in 2018, connecting Miami with Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach. They had stations in Boca Raton, Aventura opened last year, and the construction on its 170-mile extension from West Palm Beach to Orlando actually began in 2019. And it's really substantially a lot of good income in Florida, and creating more than 10,000 jobs and approximately $8.4 billion in direct economic impact, which is great. But once again, with the Brightline trains, it is unbelievable. And definitely consider it, definitely if you're looking at maybe even taking Brightline from Miami to Fort Lauderdale back. Beautiful experience because once again, this new route actually takes, like I said, about 3 hours between Miami and Orlando. But once again, it's just best known for their guest experience. Their station design is beautiful, and also they with their extension, it really showcases what they're doing. And I know that their expansion project just included 56 bridges, including 18 new bridges, 300 passes, drainage installations, and once again, expansion inlet also includes the development of Base Camp, which is a $100 million state-of-the-art train maintenance facility, and just gorgeous experience too. And you've got different options as far as Brightline, of course. In my case, when I took the train back on June 13th from Miami up to Fort Lauderdale and back, I was able to get the premium pass. And with the premium pass, it's wonderful because you wind up getting in the premium train, which is gorgeous. You have free drinks and snacks, but just gorgeous. And just a wonderful experience because once again, when we think about trains today, sometimes we think about they're older trains. Maybe they're slower, maybe they're not well kept up. But like I said, with Brightline, they're really the key provider of modern, eco-friendly intercity rail within America, and they're planned to expand too. And like I said, what they're doing is right now, they're offering these smart fares. And it's one-way smart fares, of course. And then they've got this also premium fares, which is one I had when I took the train from Miami to Orlando to Fort Lauderdale and back. That includes a dedicated premium lounge in the train stations themselves, a separate lounge area, and priority boarding, check luggage, complimentary snacks and beverages throughout the journey, which is great too. But it was so exciting to see Brightline actually did officially start their first train service from Miami to Orlando. And once again, they did special presentations. It wasn't there, of course, but once again, they did, their first train did arrive. The first Brightline Orlando train did, it departed at 6:38 a.m. And then it just did arrive into Orlando from Miami about, they mentioned 10:19, a little bit late, but 11 o'clock. They did a big welcome ceremony that included the Orlando Mayor, Buddy Dyer, and Brightline founder, Wes Edens. They had remarks, interview opportunities, reception, and then at 12:35 p.m., their southbound train was going to be departing from Orlando to Miami. And once again, it's just a great, great, great experience. And definitely think about that too. I know that Brightline is actually expanding in different areas. This is the first one they're doing first, but they are looking at expanding different areas too. So definitely keep it in mind because it is just an amazing, amazing experience. You don't feel like you're riding a train. Okay, you really don't. It's gorgeous. The big leather seats. You can actually have access to Wi-Fi, places to put in your laptops, whatever you're taking with you too. And like I said, they've launched their Orlando airport service today, September 22nd. And also something they did too is they just mentioned this, I think yesterday, is that they just partnered with Mears Transportation. What that does is it provides Brightline riders with ground transportation to and from Orlando airports too. And they're doing some for things too with other companies too. But definitely keep it in mind because once again, when you think about taking a train, sometimes you think about old train stations, and this is just so luxurious, beautiful. The people are so nice, and I've never seen so many happy people, employees working there too. And once again, something that is really, really big now too is you've got different options as far as taking cruises. And actually, Port Canaveral, which is about an hour or so away from Orlando, is a great place to actually depart on a cruise. And it's growing like crazy. In fact, I think Orlando's actually become, Port Canaveral has actually become, I think, probably the biggest cruise port in the U.S. that cruise lines are sailing from now. Originally, they started from Port Miami, but that's growing like crazy too. which is good. And something else that comes up too is when you think about taking a cruise, there are different options. Port Canaveral is really going like crazy. I actually sailed out of Port Canaveral myself back in the 1990s, but back then it was not as many ships sailing out. Then, of course, Port Miami is where the cruise lines really based all their ships, and they grew into sailing out of Port Everglades, which is Fort Lauderdale. Of course, Tampa is another one. And another one's really, really taking off like crazy is Galveston, Texas. Yes, I'll share more about that later in my show. And once again, New York City is growing like crazy. As mentioned, I was actually on the MSC Meraviglia, that's MSC Cruises ship, back earlier this year. They flew me down to New York to see their MSC Meraviglia, which is going to be sailing out of New York City round trip, year round. Going to, of course, Bermuda, which is easy to get to from New York. I've done it myself too, but also going down south, whatever. And of course, we see ports, of course, further up. But once again, Galveston is growing like crazy too. And if you think about Alaskan cruises, of course, it's a shorter season, but with the cruising to Alaska, it tends to be from Vancouver. Another great port to sail out of too is Seattle. You can actually take Alaskan cruises out of Seattle. The Alaskan cruise season usually goes from maybe May to maybe September because the weather gets too cold, but definitely with Brightline, it's a Florida high-speed rail provider, and launching their service today from Orlando is just fantastic. So definitely keep that in mind because it's just a great experience to think about. And I'll tell you what, I was just amazed. I hadn't taken a train in such a long time, but it was such a great experience and just such high-end luxury. And once again, what I love too is you talk to people who worked at Brightline and they were so happy. They just seem they're treated so well and happy they work for Brightline. Just an amazing experience. And even when I went to their Miami train station where I was going to be taking my train, it was unbelievable. It was like 3 levels, brand new, gorgeous, different options. I had the premium pass, I had private lounge there too, but just once again, a beautiful experience, and definitely it's not like just taking another train. So definitely keep in mind Brightline, of course, too, in the future too, because it was just really, really wonderful experience. And I'm so glad that they finally did launch their train service now between Miami, South Florida, up to Orlando and Orlando back. So definitely keep that in mind. We've talked about different things about different cruise lines, and one that cruise lines do too is they have a lot of great entertainment aboard their ships, okay? Because once again, good ship happens. But one thing that came up is with Carnival Cruise Line, they mentioned that several Carnival ships are actually getting into this Family Feud game show. I thought, how fun is that? I know Carnival Cruise Line just mentioned that they're going to be offering their own Family Feud live game show on 13 of their ships by fall of 2024, next year. They first launched Family Feud live in 2021 on board their Mardi Gras, and then on their Carnival Celebration in 2022. And what they did was they have an exclusive partnership with Fremantle. So Carnival actually hosts a live version of their game show, and its guests can actually compete similar to the live iconic TV programs too. And they have 2 5-person teams, and they can compete on stage, which is great. Also get the most answers to the questions passed with a survey. And as far as the rollout of their program, who wouldn't be thinking about fun things as far as a Family Feud game show on a ship? Yes. I know on September 30th, just the next week, it's going to be launching Carnival Legend. And then November this year, later on, the Carnival Pride is going to have the Family Feud game show. Also, the Carnival Miracle will be on December 14th this year. Also, during the inaugural sailing of the Carnival Jubilee, which is taking place on December 23rd, they'll have it on board that ship. And then coming into 2024, on March 2nd of 2024, the Carnival Panorama is going to have the Family Feud game show. And then on March 30th, 2024, Carnival Horizon. Then on May 26th, we have the Carnival Horizon, of course, I mentioned, I think, too. And then on May 26th, the Carnival Liberty. And then on June 20th next year, we've got Carnival Luminosa. Then on July 23rd, we have the Carnival Spirit. And then August 18th of next year, we have the Carnival Magic. And then October 3rd of next year, the Carnival Dream. But once again, keep that in mind because I think it's a great way to really get into fun things too with the Family Feud game show. But it's happening on Carnival Cruise Line ships, which is great. Once again, there's so many fun things to do on cruise ships too. Definitely keep that in mind too, because once again, they add beautiful entertainment options to experience things on board the ship as well as off the ship too, which is great. One thing I mentioned too is with cruise lines, they have really, really been focusing on their private islands. And as mentioned, I think I've mentioned this previously, is Disney Cruise Line, which actually launched their own private outline when they first started. It's beautiful. They're doing a new one too. Something else I've mentioned too is with MSC Cruises. They actually have their MSC Ocean Cay Marine Reserve. And what they did was the family, which is it's family owned, MSC Corporation owns MSC Cruises. They've got their new luxury cruise line, Explorer Journeys, which just launched back in July with their first new ship, Explorer One. Also, they've got their MSC Foundation nonprofit, and they also have the MSC Shipping Group, which is a transportation company, the largest one I think in the world, or second largest. What they did was the family actually negotiated a deal to actually lease this private island in the Bahamas for 100 years. And the island had been in very, very bad shape. It was actually left by a big transportation company or a company. And what they did was they had to pull away, I think it was like 1.5 tons of trash. They had to rebuild the trees there. They planted 7,000 trees. They were trying to rebuild the marine life too, rebuild the beaches. It's gorgeous what they've done. And they actually invested over $400 million in that island. I was there for their christening one of their ships in 2021. It was gorgeous. And we're seeing a lot of that too, even with Royal Caribbean. On one of their islands, they've got a new area they're doing that's more for adults only. It's still, of course, open to everybody, but they've got a new area that is going to be just for their own adult only area too, special things that people can do too. So that's really, I think, a fun experience to think about too, because once again, cruise lines do phenomenal things, and it's so important to really, I think about what you want to do on board a ship, but also off the ship, because the out islands, when cruising first started back again too, people felt safe there. So cruise lines do focus on that too, to include that with their itineraries, which is great. And like I said, cruise lines are really, really moving in this area like crazy, which is great. And updating different things too. I know Carnival's doing some things too. I'll share more about that later on too, because once again, it just goes back to fun things that cruise lines are doing to really elevate that experience for their guests on board the ship. With their private islands, the people that are at those islands are just people from your ship, and they're staffed, of course, which is great. And when I was at the Ocean Cay MSC Marine Reserve, it was beautiful because the people that worked there were fantastic. Plus, had a chance to see where those people actually lived. It was unbelievable, beautiful. And once again, they're really trying to rebuild marine life there too. So they're very careful what they're doing. And as mentioned, they've got this, they've designated this Hope spot by Mission Blue, which is an organization funded by Dr. Sylvia Earle, to promote the protection of marine life too, which is great too. And what they're doing is just beautiful what they're doing, because once again, they're rebuilding the sea life, something else to talk about later, but just a beautiful place to go to. And cruise lines are really focusing on adding more experiences to their private islands and adding more private islands too, which is great. I'll be updating that more later on in a future episode. Something else just came up too is, and we talk about new ships coming out like crazy, which is good, all good. And as mentioned, Explorer Journeys is actually the luxury cruise line owned by the MSC Group. And what they did was, it's high-end luxury. It's their concept is building ocean light to sea, which is great. What they did was they just launched their first ship, the Explorer One, back in July this year, which is beautiful. And what they do is they just announced this week that Explorer Journeys just confirmed orders of 2 more hydrogen-powered ships that will be joining its fleet. And like I said, these are 2 new hydrogen-powered ships that are going to be joining their fleet. Right now, it goes back to I think about hydrogen power once again. With the cruise industry, of course, they're looking to be going to try and get that net zero emissions. And that's part of the cruise industry's desire to do that too, and also something that the Cruise Lines International Association has really kind of been focusing on too. But once again, these ships will be coming out in, I think by, let me see here. Yeah, they're using liquid hydrogen, which is great. And like I said, I think those ships are going to be coming out. They've got 4 ships right now coming out. And of course, the Explorer 1 just launched in July this year. It's currently operating right now in Northern Europe, and then she's going to be spending the autumn in North America, which is great. And then in the wintertime, she'll be in the Caribbean Sea. Then she'll sail in spring of 2024 off the U.S. West Coast and then Hawaii, and then return to Europe, okay, for summer. Series of journeys that'll be in the Mediterranean Sea too. And the Explorer 2, which is their second ship, is going to be entering service in summer of 2024, and she's going to operate until April 2025 in the Mediterranean Sea, also then Middle East, and then, of course, the Indian Ocean and Africa, visiting 82 ports in 26 countries. Now, how wonderful is that? Explorer 2 just first touched the water on September 6th for a float-out ceremony near Geneva in Italy. Okay, and then Explorer 3, their third luxury ship, is going to enter service in summer of 2026. And right now it's under construction, and it's going to be LNG powered vessel starting on September 6th, 2023, with a steel cutting ceremony. What they're doing is they're working on the ship right now. And then she's going to be entering service in 2026 in the summertime. And then, of course, they've got the Explorer 4 coming out, and all 6 ships with Explorer Journeys fleet will be equipped with the latest environmental and marine technologies, and will also feature the latest selective catalytic technology, catalytic reduction technology, to really enable a reduction as far as nitrogen oxide emissions by 90%. And one thing that most people don't realize is cruise lines are really moving forward as far as getting into zero emissions, which is great because it's just another way to really work on working with the areas, as far as reducing emissions, and fit it with underwater noise management systems, protecting wildlife too. So once again, like I said, with Explorer Journeys, they are privately owned luxury lifestyle brand owned by the MSC Group, headquartered, of course, in Geneva, Switzerland. And the brand actually stems from the owners wanting to redefine the ocean experience by having a new generation of discretionary luxury travelers too, which is great. And like I said, the family itself has over 300 years in the maritime industry of themselves too. And with their fleet of 6 ships, 2 which are under construction right now, will be launched from 2023 through 2028. And like I said, they're going to include the latest environmental and marine technologies. And like I said, with Explorer Journeys, they introduced a new style of transformational ocean travel. And once again, with the Explorer, which was launched successfully in July earlier this year, has 461 oceanfront suites, penthouse suites, and residences. And they're designed to be home at sea for their guests. Also, they've got beautiful ocean views. They've got private terraces. They've got 6 vibrant restaurants on board, also in-suite dining. They've got 12 bars and beverages, 8 indoor, and of course, we've got, 4 outdoor. They've got a chef's kitchen, 4 swimming pools. They've got expansive outdoor decks to enjoy things too. Private cabanas. Once again, it's definitely something to keep in mind too if you're thinking about that too, because once again, they really bring a new dimension to luxury cruising, which is great because we've seen a lot of growth in that too. We've got some new cruise lines starting out. One, of course, I think I've mentioned it before, is called Four Seasons Yachts. I think they're going to be debuting maybe in 2024, 2025. But once again, I think since we went through that situation with the pandemic and COVID-19, people they couldn't travel. They live and work from home. And unlike what we went through as far as 9/11, where people weren't too scared to travel, in this case, I think with people having to work from home maybe for the past year and a half, things that came back finally in 2021, finally with the vaccinations too. And then I think last year's been a great year as far as traveling, of course, too. But we've seen a lot of interest as far as not just luxury, but also I think more that expedition mindset too, which is great because one thing that's really grown like crazy, and the cruise lines who do this are very, very careful, is going to Antarctica. Yes, there are a couple of different cruise lines that actually go there periodically, of course, but they're very, very careful what they do with their ships. Their ships are new. And I think it's just today we're thinking more about different places we want to see with experiences, having those experiences a lifetime. It's not just taking a cruise and going somewhere. But once again, there's so many options out there too. So definitely keep that in mind too, because once again, I love what Exploratories is doing. And with their announcement of just launching, deciding to build 2 more ships to their fleet, which is great too. Mark, do you have any questions for me? So I can talk more about what we're doing as far as some special updates to the cruise industry too. But anything else you want to add to that or not?
Just seeing how things were going. It sounds like there's some great developments going on with that Brightline and all along those lines. So that is very amazing and all in that kind of space. So definitely glad to see that they are, as you said, going and developing the cruise line industry even more and all in that kind of way. And like you said, there's some different trips that are going on and all in that space. So definitely it looked good. And I was even seeing that apparently there was an article about even the folks that are looking, because we have a couple of investment shows into investing into the cruise line. So there might be some people that are even looking as cruise lines as a investment tool and all in that space, because apparently there's some folks that were saying that they were looking at Norwegian Cruise Line as a stock that is one that folks might be looking at, and who knows what other stocks they may be looking at as well. So I was wondering if you ever explored the idea of even being an investor in the cruise line industry, because I imagine that some of these cruise lines might even have public options and all in that space. But I was just wondering if that was something that you had ever explored yourself, since we have investment shows and it's always interesting to see
Right.
what people invest in.
Right. But they get investors too, which is great because once again, they need that. But once again, I really think today more than ever, what the cruise and travel industry is growing like crazy in very, very positive ways. I mean, and like I said, when we went through 9/11, it was horrible. People cocooned, okay? They
Right.
didn't want, they were scared of flying. I mean, seriously, they bought stuff.
Right.
Okay, in this case, going through this coronavirus mess, which we finally got through 2020 and then part of 2021, we finally started back being able to travel again after the vaccinations came out too. But the protocols were so much different because that's when I did take a cruise myself later on in 2022. But even then, back then, when I took my cruise last year, it was just interesting. You had to have the rapid antigen test showing negative within 3 days when you actually sailed out. It was a different protocol back then, but I think today cruising is coming back like crazy, and there's so many options out there now, and it's just really about the experiences.
Yeah, speaking of the experiences, I know you're talking about the Family Feud, and that is definitely something that folks are going to be looking forward to. I remember loving that show and definitely look forward to possibly being on a cruise where that is taking place and all along those lines and
Yes.
everything. But definitely, I don't know if we got around to mention it, but apparently a new cruise line, Carnival Legend, will be taking place on from Galveston. So I know sometimes we are looking at different places where the cruise are
Yes.
taking place, and it looks like this one is going to be coming out of Galveston, and this is a new cruise line. And I know you talked about Explorer before.
Well, Carnival Legend is a Carnival Cruise Line ship.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've in fact found information about that too. But the point is, with Carnival Cruise Line, just mentioned they're going to have 4 ships sailing out of Galveston now too, which is great. And they're doing different kinds of cruises, usually Western Caribbean, but they've got different options. And I just ran across that too, because that's really kind of fun. Because once again, it gives you options as far as what you want to sail out. Because once again, we went through the messy situations with flying last year, meltdown and things like that too. It just kind of crazy when you couldn't get to the place you want to go to with delays, cancellation. I mean, I had that come up with my last year. I was actually at a conference last year and supposed to be flying back on April 1st. My flight got canceled. They sent me an email. They sent me, I think they called me, left a message. We canceled your flight that evening. We're putting a flight the next day. And I was actually April 1st, Friday, April 1st. I'd already checked out a hotel, went to the convention center for the conference, get the message. We canceled your flight, putting a flight tomorrow morning. What am I going to do? Luckily, I had a friend that stayed at the hotel. So she said, room with me. I paid her half the hotel cost, of course. And then the next morning at 6:40 a.m., I started getting text messages from the airline. They were delaying my flight, delaying. So I got to the airport real quick. I just took and this one taxi service is great. They're perfect. Got there, waited in line for 90 minutes to talk to somebody. And she said, yeah, I'm going to miss your flights. They put me on 3 connecting flights. I finally got back on April 3rd, 2 days later. But in my case, it was just me. It was an inconvenience. It wasn't a tragedy, but I wrote about it later on because this happened on April Fool's Day, April 1st. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a joke. So the article I wrote was called My April Fool's Day Reality. Flight cancellation, delays. But I got back safely, and thank goodness I had taken out travel insurance, so they did respond back, which is great too. But once again, you just don't know, and it just, flights have been so crazy. Even when we had the situation with the flights being canceled and luggage being lost, it's just a different situation. And the point is, I always tell people, if you're taking a cruise, it's probably best to try and go down a day earlier. Don't wait till the day you're going to be departing. Before, you always used to do that, but now it's like if you go a day before, that's easier because something comes up, you'll still get there. But once again, it goes back to, we've got different options as far as, sailing. You can sail out of course, Port Miami, which is gorgeous, Port Everglades, Fort Lauderdale. Port Canaveral is just taking off like crazy. It seems like it's like the number one port now from Florida. We've got Galveston, which is great. And of course, we've seen more ships now. Tampa's another area. Sometimes cruise lines do sail out of New Orleans. I did that myself too. Back in 2016, we had to go down the river first to get out there. But and of course, with New York City.
Yep, New York City. And I know you've talked about Alaska before as well. And one of the things that I saw was that there is a great chef that is getting ready to go into partnership with Holland and all along those lines. So apparently Chef Maramato is launching a port-to-plate fish program with that particular.
I saw that. I was going to bring them up because that just came up. They're launching a global fresh fish program.
Yes.
Which is great. And I think it's wonderful because, once again, I mean, who doesn't like seafood?
Yeah.
I mean, I do. It's really great. And it's really good because the one thing with cruise lines too is usually the dining is complimentary. And it's a good way to have certain types of things you like. I mean, lobster's okay, but I really like fresh salmon, things like that too.
Well, like I said, they're saying there's going to be sockeye salmon. They said in Mexico, guests will be treated to red snapper, while those traveling through Greece can expect lavrica. So definitely they're going to get some great fish and some definitely amazing meals and all in that space. So it looks like they can be expected to be dazzled by a culinary journey that includes dishes like black cod, yazzie, fresh halibut, XO, and Marabati PC lobster tails. So definitely looks like some really good foods that'll be taking place in that space and all along those lines. But I know you got a lot of these amazing stories. I was going to ask you about one other one that I heard about and everything and all along those lines. But I know a lot of times you've been talking about the notion of what they're doing in terms of energy and all in that space. And I did see that one of these ships, and I'm trying to figure out which one it is doing something major in that space as well. So once I find out what I'm talking about, then I will bring it up to you and all along those lines. But it was just really fascinating. Oh, by the way, it looks like Carnival Cruise Lines, while I'm finding that, is introducing new vegan menus. So if you are,
I was going to bring that up to you, baby, to it. They got a new vegan menu, which is fantastic. That just came up this week too. There's so many exciting things going on. This came out this week. So exciting. I mean, I'm getting chills. It's so exciting because they've got a vegan menu now. And once again, it's great because with Holland America, they just announced they're launching that global fresh fish program. Chef, I don't know if I can pronounce his name correctly or not, but it's Chef Mazahua Morimoto.
Yeah, I think something like that.
He's serving as the line's fresh fish ambassador. And it's going to be it's going to be they're going to be curating dishes in the ship's dining rooms this fall, and then they're going to have a new pop-up restaurant available fleet-wide by early 2024. But how fun is that to have a pop-up restaurant to enjoy these things too? But I just think it's great because once again, with Morimoto's creations are crafted in the cruise line's main dining room, a menu starting this week. Actually, they just announced this. So this week is when they're starting it. And they're going to be available for a supplemental charge quite early this October. And of course, they've got menu additions called the Fresh Black Cod Yuzu.
That sounds like this is going to be totally delicious. The thing I was going to get to you, and then, like I said, I'll turn it back over to you and everything. But I found interesting in everything was Explorer Journeys, which I know you talk about quite a bit. The world's newest cruise line has ordered 2 more cruise ships that not only will be the 5th and the 6th in their fleet, but they're going to be powered by hydrogen. So they're going to actually be run by hydrogen. So it looks like Explorer 5 and Explorer 6 will debut in 2027 and 2028 with advanced environmental technologies that will be capable of using alternative fuels such as bio and synthetic gas and methanol. So definitely looks like they're doing some serious environmental things in that space as well. So definitely
they really are, because with the Cruise Lines International Association, CLIA, they've already set a goal 2050 to be net zero. But cruise lines have been jumping on this like crazy anyway, and coming at different options. And it's good because once again, we need to preserve the wildlife. And once again, with Explorer Journeys, owned by the MSC Group, and they got their foundation, but they're the ones actually have been building those coral trees off their private island, Ocean Cay MSC Marine Reserve. It's a whole separate thing they're working on too, which is great because we want to rebuild the marine life more than ever. It's just some of the stuff they're doing too, because once again, we make sure that marine life survives. And going to liquefied natural gas is right. What cruise lines are doing now too, plus they're thinking of other options too. But it's great what they're doing because they're really pushing steps forward to really make sure that we're trying to make sure we can preserve the oceans and things too. We need that more than ever.
No, we definitely need that more than ever. So I'm gonna turn it back over to you. Didn't have any new videos this time. I'm sure I'll have some new videos next week, but we'll probably close out with some of the old videos and everything. But I'm gonna turn it back over.
Okay, thank you so much. But once again, I was trying to find a video today that showcased the Brightline arriving into Orlando. I found one, but it wasn't really what I could share, unfortunately. But it just sounds like a wonderful experience and great people being there too. And then they had the train going back to Miami. But that's great because once again, it's a fast speed train, very luxurious, and like I said, with the luxury seats, they're leather. You can plug in things for Wi-Fi, which is great too. It's just a beautiful way to really experience it. You don't have to worry about the hassles as far as driving and delays and things too. And once again too, I know that when we had coronavirus hit, it really took a toll on car rental companies too. They struggled with that too, so it was harder to find later on way to actually rent a car, and the car rental prices were so expensive. And if you're trying to go, for instance, from Orlando to Miami or Fort Lauderdale, it's hard because you usually can't find flights that short too. But once again, going back to what we were talking about as far as Han America, and they're launching their global fresh fish program. It's great because once again, it's really something that this chef Morimoto did decide to partner with Han America Line, and it's just embarking on this type of culinary journey at sea is a first for him. He mentioned he was excited to really bring his passion of fresh fish and ingredients to Han America Line's fleet, and he chose to partner with Han America Line because he felt they both share the commitment as far as passion for fresh and regionally inspired foods. And we see that come to life with special dishes and also the pop-up experience too. And once again, as I mentioned, with Chef Morimoto's creations are being crafted on the cruise line's main dining room menus starting this week. And then they're going to be available for supplementary charge, of course, fleet-wide. And then, of course, as mentioned, his menu additions include this fresh black cod yuzu. They've got this Morimoto's Espas Los Bertios, plus for the fresh halibut. And once again, they really are excited, Han America, to really partner with Chef Morimoto, because once again, it's a good way to kind of showcase different things that they do. And once again, they got a commitment as far as fresh ingredients, fish and seafood, and they're really excited about his skills too. And once again, beginning in November, every ship is going to have Morimoto by Sea, which is an exclusive pop-up restaurant that will take over the Tamarind or the Pinnacle Grill, depending on the ship, once per cruise. And of course, with the restaurant and its menu, with these really beautiful presented fishes and dishes and beverages, there will be a surcharge of $55 per person cover charge. But once again, it is going to include a multi-course menu, including vegetarian and vegan selections, and also showcase Morimoto's exclusive alcoholic beverages. And then the pop-up restaurants will be open fleet-wide by early of next year, 2024. And also, they've got appetizers. They mentioned appetizers will include a sushi plate with salmon, maki. They've got a salmon maki. They've got also Morimoto fresh tuna pizza, different things like that too. And also main courses will include fried whole market fresh fish with a sweet spicy chili sauce. And once again, they've got side dishes. Those include fried rice, steamed rice or brown rice, wasabi mashed potatoes, a wok seared bok choy, and a basket of steamed vegetables. And desserts will include a dark chocolate sphere of ganache, marshmallow, hot chocolate sauce, tofu cheesecake. And once again, with the featured alcoholic beverages, those include by bottle or glass, they've got this Morimoto Brut Rosé, Morimoto Greenwich Hill Chardonnay, but different things like that too. So once again, it's just kind of fun they're partnering with this, and brings a new dimension when it comes to seafood on cruise ships too. And then of course, with we talked a bit about Carnival Cruise Line, and what they're doing is they actually have just announced that they have introduced a new vegan dining room menu, which is great. And they just announced that actually earlier this week. And it's based on their initiative to bring more options for guests to enjoy as far as dining. And they introduced new vegan menus. They've added these on board the Carnival Freedom in Port Canaveral, also the Carnival Horizon in Port Miami. And then going forward, the new vegan menus are going to be implemented fleet-wide in a phased approach through the end of this year. So in each the ship's dining rooms, the new vegan menus are going to include a selection of appetizers, entrees, and desserts that are entirely vegan, which is great. And the Carnival chefs are creating recipes for each menu to be prepared without the use of any animal products. Also, the proteins are made from meat substitutes. Once again, it goes back to what they're trying to focus on too, because once again, for instance, I found a list, they just mentioned some options guests can find that will be featured in the new vegan menus include appetizers. They've got this Hawaiian salmon poke. It's a refresher starter. They've got these stuffed mushrooms, spaghetti carbonara. Entrees include grilled tofu steak. They've got baked vegetable au gratin. They've got eggplant cutlet alla parmigiana, and they've got some desserts too, which sounds kind of fun too. Who doesn't like desserts on cruise ships? They have a key lime velvet cake, and they've got a Dutch double chocolate pave with alternative layers of cake, and then of course buttercream. They've got this cappuccino pâte de la crème, and once again, these vegan specific menus are going to be introduced in the fall, and they've already been piloted on their Carnival Magic, and the Carnival Dream will be the next ship to really implement this menu. And then, of course, guests will be able to order from menus on the Carnival Valor, the Carnival Miracle, Carnival Panorama, Mardi Gras, and some of the ships. But it's just kind of good to see what they're doing too as far as their vegan menu options too, because it's brand new. And once again, they just introduced it, and they're going to be having more of these through adding more later on this year, which is great too. And of course, something else that Carnival Cruise Line just mentioned is, like I said, they've been adding more ships that are sailing out of Galveston. I think their fourth ship is actually sailing out of Galveston. They just announced another ship's going to be sailing out of Galveston too, which is great. And they've got something else they mentioned. They've got Celebration Key, which is currently an exclusive destination, is currently in development in the Bahamas. And Carnival Cruise Line guests will be able to register to the first to know to find out what they're doing as far as the sailing dates. And it's the first cruise port destination designed specifically for Carnival guests. And it's important really for them to find out, to follow this journey as they continue to work towards opening of the Celebration Key in July of 2025. And it's going to really be a unique experience with Carnival Key. It's has abundance of features and amenities, including a 1-mile stretch of white sand beach. Shore excursions will be available, numerous recreation and leisure facilities for families and adults, as well as a Bahamian operated retail and food and beverage options for Carnival guests to enjoy. And once again, it goes back to it, cruise lines people, cruise line guests on Carnival will be able to enjoy this, of course, as part of their itineraries. And of course, Carly just mentioned they're going to be announcing the initial ships that will be among the first to visit Carnival Key on the first itineraries. Once again, they're working on this private island in the Bahamas themselves for Carnival guests to enjoy, and they'll be sharing about that later on this year too. I think that's just important to kind of keep in mind too, because once again, with cruise lines, they do invest in their private islands, and this is one that, of course, Carnival is doing, called their Carnival, their Celebration Key, which is great. And something else that I want to mention too is Royal Caribbean. They actually have their private island. It's called Perfect Day at Coco Cay. And what they're doing is they just announced details last week of their first adults-only beach on its private island, okay? And it's called Hideaway Beach. And it's going to be open in January this next year with the debut of their Icon of the Seas, which is the newest ship, the largest ship ever being built. It will accommodate about 5,610 guests. And the Hideaway Beach will be over an acre. And it will include a private beach, 2 pools, 7 open-air spaces for drinks and bites, 20 different cabanas, which is great. Also, they'll have live music. Guests will have to pay an extra charge. Once again, it's available just to guests who have to be at least 18 years and older. And the extra charge will range maybe from $89 to $39 per person, depending on the time of the year, too. But once again, this beach area will be resort style and include, of course, the loungers and umbrellas, hammocks, and swings. The pool area will include a DJ, a swim-up bar, which is great, and also a heated infinity edge pool with a view of the ocean. And once again, the new beach will have 2 categories of cabanas. 10 will be stationed poolside and offer amenities including a tenant service with a push of a call button. They got a mini fridge and things like that too. But once again, it's just great to think about that too, because another 10 hideaway cabanas will be stationed on the side of the island of the beach with access to their heated infinity edge pool. Also, cabana attendant service, in-water lounges too. And once again, too, with food and beverages options at Hideaway Beach, it's going to offer different food and beverage options. On the rocks is an alfresco bar. On the beach's rocky shore. And of course, it's going to offer live music, TVs to watch, live sports games and table games too, shuffleboard and billiards. And of course, the actual beach will include a swim bar, a new plaza restaurant and bar with complimentary food. They'll actually have included Bahamian guava barbecue chicken, snack shack. How fun, with popular menu items like chicken sandwiches, fried mozzarella sticks, salads, and they've got 2 full-service bars. And with Coco Cay in 2024, 22 ships will actually be sailing to Coco Cay in 2024 from different ports, of course, including Miami. Fort Lauderdale, Port Canaveral, also Cape Liberty in Bayonne, New Jersey, and Galveston, Texas, because as mentioned, Galveston, Texas is really taking off as another place for cruise ships to actually sail from too, which is great. So I think it's kind of fun to think about that too. And as far as new ships, one thing we've got coming up too is Cunard Line. Okay, and they've been around. They've been sailing for over 148 years, yes, but they've got their fourth ship coming out in, I think, 2025, the Queen Anne. They have been sharing a little bit more about that too, which is great. But once again, they've got different things they're working on too. And with Cunard Line, they're best known as far as the transatlantic cruises, but definitely more high-end luxury, which is great and which is good too. So I think another option to think about too right now, they've got 3 ships sailing. And then, like I said, their newest ship, the Queen Anne, which they're building right now, will be coming out, I think, in 2025. I'll be sharing more about that too, because it's just another great way to think about other options as far as cruising. Because once again, there's so many options out there too. As mentioned, we're seeing a big boost as far as luxury cruising, small ships. Explore Journeys is one. Another one we've got coming out in the next, I think, 2 years maybe, is the Four Seasons Yachts. And then another really great one too is going to be coming up. One that's going to is Riverside Luxury Cruises. What they did was they just launched their second ship, Riverside Cruising. What they did was Riverside Luxury Cruises actually purchased the 4 river ships that Crystal Cruises actually built. And the Crystal Cruises, unfortunately, their parent company went under. They went under, but once again, with Riverside Luxury Cruises, they actually purchased those 4 relatively new River Cruise Line ships, and their second ship just started sailing over in Europe this summer too, which is great. But once again, we've got different options out there too as far as river cruising. So many beautiful options out there too. It's definitely a way to really experience Europe in different ways. Because once again, if you think about Europe, normally what do? You fly to Europe, you take maybe a tour company, which is not bad. But once again, with river cruising, it's really, really grown like crazy. One example is with Alma Waterways. By the way, Alma means love. And it was started by Rudy Schreiner and Christine Carlson, their partner, about 21 years ago. But they really have grown like crazy, very successful. And once again, it really is a great way to really experience Europe. They go to other places too. They're going to be offering some things in South America in 2024. But with River Cruise Line over in Europe, it's just a great way to really experience different parts of Europe that you might not think about. Because normally if you fly to Europe, you have to maybe stay at one hotel, go to another hotel, go to another hotel. But with river cruising, what they do is the ship is actually your floating hotel in a new way. It's good to really think about that too if you're looking for a really, really great way to experience Europe. And also with river cruising too, they're going beyond just the river cruising in Europe. It's like a mainstay for the river cruising industry. Alma Waterways is one. We've got several other great cruise lines that do that too. Riviera Luxury Cruises, which is great. We have more. Avalon is another one. But just things like that too. And also what they're doing is they do some cruises on the Nile River. Also, I know that next year Alma Waterways is doing some things on the Columbia River in South America. So definitely keep that in mind. And of course, another option would be if you're interested in sailing from maybe on rivers in the U.S. We've got great options out there right now more than ever. We've got American Clean Voyages, which is great. They started about 12 years ago. Plus, we've got another cruise line, American Cruise Lines, which has been around for several years, family owned, but they sail within the waters within the U.S. also as well, other areas too. But just definitely keep that in mind too, because once again, with river cruising, it's a way to actually see diverse areas. But once again, you don't have to necessarily go from one hotel to another hotel to another hotel. The ship actually serves as your hotel, which is great. So definitely, I think keep that in mind too, because once again, there are just beautiful options out there too, more than ever. And I think it's just kind of good to think about that too, as far as options, because we've got so many different ones out there now too. Because once again, it kind of depends on where you want to go, what you want to see, how long you're going to be there. But once again, like I said, with cruising coming back so much, you've got new ships debuting, so many before the end of this year, and of course next year and the year after. But once again, something that they're doing too with the cruise industry is they're really, really being very, very concentrated on the zero emissions too. Because once again, it goes back to really trying to find ways to make sure that we preserve our the seas too in different ways too. But once again, so many options out there too. Like I said, with the Queen Anne, that's like I said, Cunard Line's newest ship, and she's going to be joining. Oh, sorry, 2024. That's right. And she's going to be adding different things to it, which is great. Once going to be the fourth ship that Cunard Line actually has, their newest ship, and she will be debuting in 2024. And of course, it just sounds phenomenal because once again, they've got different itineraries they'll be doing too with that. I'll be sharing more about that in a future episode too, of course. But it's so exciting to see cruising coming back, but also different things that they're doing as far as options. You got vegan menus coming out with Carnival Cruise Line. You've got, of course, the fresh fish with Han America Line. We've got really fantastic culinary chefs. And once again, when you think about just that net zero emissions, cruise lines are really, really focused on that more than ever to make sure that we're really preserving our sea life too. Mark, any other questions at all you can think of right now?
You're doing really well. I figured that once you're ready to wrap everything up, we'll probably end with Dr. Sylvia Earle and maybe the brothers as well. But definitely, I did have Dr. Sylvia Earle, and I know that you
Yes.
talked about her and all along those lines. But definitely, it's always good seeing things in that space. Actually, cruising was mentioned on the show before you, because the show before you is an interior designing show. She was talking about how she had visited she's in the West Coast, but she had visited the East Coast and had been part of one of those cruises that was going up and down the East Coast. So probably like from maybe Georgia to DC or something like that. But it was one of those river cruises that you were talking about because she was really enjoying seeing some of the change in scenery because they don't have much change in scenery out in LA and California as they do here. So she was talking about how she enjoyed seeing that during the cruise that she went on and all in that space. So it's good hearing other people that are going on cruises as well. Because I think that was either last year or the year before that Miss Chasware said she had done that particular cruise.
Right. But just so excited. Like I said, the thing is the countdown is on as far as the celebrity ascent.
Yeah.
I just actually wrote about Captain Kate McHugh for another publication. It's called Women Leading Travel and Hospitality, but I had got kind of with the people and I said I could write articles, but they liked the one I wanted to write about Captain Kate McHugh because once again, she's got a great story and she is the first and only woman American captain of a cruise line ship. We've got other women that are captains too, by the way, which is great. Explorer Journeys, the Explorer One, which just debuted in July, has a female captain too, which is great. And the thing is, they're getting in the industry in different ways, not because they're women, but once again, great stories, great inspiration. We need to keep moving forward with just, getting to where you want to be. And I think following your passion, because I think I mentioned with Captain Kate McHugh, when she was 12 years old, she found some cruise brochures at her parents' house. She talked her parents into, let's go on a cruise. They took a short cruise, came back, she told her dad, okay, Dad, when I grow up, I want to be a cruise director. Her dad says, Kate, you can do anything you want to do. She got into the Maritime Academy, graduated, was applying for jobs to be in the maritime, on the bridge. And of course, it took forever. And then she applied to be a job with a cruise line as a bartender. They saw credentials. That's got her in the door a little bit. And then she actually became captain in 2015 with Celebrity Cruises, and just an amazing story. But, she's big on social media, big smiles, and she's just very, very available and big on social media too. But once again, it just goes back to, one door didn't quite work out, but once again, she got in, and we're seeing more women on the bridges too, which is great. But once again, it goes back to great stories, and we need to share that more than ever.
Yeah, definitely. And apparently there are even tournaments for those that are like the playground warriors and all along those lines. I was reading an article where apparently Royal Caribbean had a onboard basketball tournament, and apparently there have been a couple of onboard tournaments around volleyball and everything along those lines. So maybe you can give some of these tournaments even when you're on board a ship and all along those lines. Because one of the articles that I was reading was talking about that some cruises even have organized onboard volleyball tournaments. So maybe you can get together either with your own family members or other family members and get into a tournament and everything. And one person was saying that they went on a cruise and there was a dodgeball tournament scheduled twice, but I don't know if they pulled it off or not.
Right.
But definitely it does look like sometimes people are having some of those street games that are going on as well. So there might be some pickup games going on even on a cruise ship as well. So that could
You
be
know, it's really
interesting.
yes, what's been a hot button on too is I'll share more about it maybe next week is pickleball.
Yep.
I mean, Waterways actually has a pickleball court on one of their ships.
Hmm.
I've never played pickleball, have no idea what it is. I think it's a variation of tennis. I didn't do this as far as tennis, but that is a hot button like crazy. And you see more
Yeah.
cruise lines that actually have pickleball available on their ships.
I was actually talking to a friend, and they were actually going to play pickleball. I think it was last week they went and played. I think they're going on a hike this week. So it's a
Right.
popular sport, not just
Yeah.
on the boat, but also on the land as well. So yeah, a lot of folks are definitely getting involved in a number of
Yes, they
ways
are.
of having the fun with the pickleball and everything in that space. So
Right.
definitely that is something that we are seeing, and all along those lines. As a matter of fact, I'm seeing something called the Peace Boat, and they were, and that looks like that was actually in another part of the world. But yeah, they had a basketball tournament taking place as well, and all along those lines, it looked like it might have been one of the Asian countries that was doing it on their particular boat, and
Right.
all in that way. So that could be quite interesting, and all in that kind of space, because definitely it looks like we think about a number of these things that are going on in the United States, and the West is definitely very much in the cruise industry, but definitely there are other parts of the world that have their cruise industry as
Right.
well. Definitely there are folks that can get on these different cruises and all in that space. So definitely, like I said, this one is based in Japan. So that's the one I was
Yes.
looking at. The Peace Boat is in Japan, and
Right.
everything. And they were saying that you can experience local culture, you can travel to
Yeah.
World Heritage sites, and of course, you can visit the various destinations and everything. So maybe I'll find some
Right.
videos about the Peace Boat for next week's episode
Right.
and everything in that.
Definitely. That's great, though. I mean, just so good to see different things as far as
Mhm.
options, because
Mhm.
it's not just, years ago when cruising first started, it was getting on a ship and they had different things. But once again, there's so much more, many different things going on too, as far as experiences on board the ship too. I mean, even like one thing that cruise lines do too is, I know Holland America does this too, but you can do cooking classes.
Mhm.
Different cruise lines do that too, which I'll share more about maybe next week too. But there's so many different experiences on board the ship. You can never get bored, believe me. I mean, if you want to sit in a deck chair, listen to music, that's fine, which I like to do. The ocean relaxes me. But once again, there's so many things you do on board the ship, even when you're on sea too. But they have different interactive things, experiences too, which is great. So definitely
No,
yes.
no doubt. So we're ready to get on out of here with Dr. Sylvia Earle, and maybe
Yes.
we'll play the brothers as well. But definitely, I think we'll close out with Dr. Sylvia Earle if
Yes.
that's all right with you. And then,
That's
like I
fine.
said, we'll probably have the brothers as well. So let's get ready
Great.
to get out
Great.
with these.
I will be meeting him. And
Okay,
I want
cool.
to Celebrity sent the pre-cruise before she gets christened December 1st. Yes, I reach out to people at Celebrity Cruises and say, yep, they're going to be on board.
Okay, cool.
I can't wait to meet them. I can't wait to meet them. They're so much fun.
We look forward to hearing you meeting them. And who knows,
Yes,
maybe you'll meet
yes,
Dr. Sylvia Earle one of these times as well. But let's
yes,
check out
yes,
Dr. Sylvia
definitely.
Earle and then the brothers.
Yes.
I'm Dr. Sylvia Earle, a marine biologist, oceanographer, explorer, and I'm passionate about the protection of this blue planet. I grew up next to the ocean in the Gulf of Mexico, and I've witnessed how much the ocean has changed and how marine life has been endangered. But I know there is still time to help the ocean, which is why I was drawn to the Aponte family's sustainability mission. Explorer Journeys has a genuine ambition to connect people with the wonders of the sea, its marine life, its communities, spiritually, physically, and intellectually. We share the same values and have the same objectives to deepen people's relationship with the ocean, to explore, protect, and restore. Explorer Journeys calls it the ocean state of mind, a sensibility that will ensure the protection of this precious blue planet. Through my foundation, Mission Blue, we're working on ocean conservation, inspiring hope with champions across the world. Beginning with my extraordinary role as godmother to Explorer One, we will be heralding a meaningful collaboration between myself, Mission Blue, and Explorer Journeys and the MSC Foundation towards preserving and restoring the world's oceans, the blue heart of the planet.
I am thrilled to be here today to announce the captain of Celebrity Ascent, the Amazing Edge series. They bring their own spirit and energy to the ship and our crew. And so I would like to eliminate all the suspense and announce that the captain of Celebrity Ascent is Captain Kafagis. Oh, did I forget to say there are two of them? For the first time ever, Celebrity Cruises has two captains. So gentlemen, I happen to know you both really, really well. We've worked together for 15 or 16 years. And a lot of our guests have sailed with you, and some of them know a little bit about you, but they nor I know a lot about you. So let's roll video and learn about your amazing lives.
My name is Dimitrios Kafagis. I am from Port of Athens, Piraeus, in Greece. I graduated the Captain's Academy of Syros, and I am a captain with Celebrity Cruises for the last 19 years. 33 years altogether at sea with Celebrity Cruises. My personal milestone and best moment was when I became a captain at the age of 36, being by then the youngest and by far the funniest captain on the fleet, only to live enough to have my brother breaking this record at the age of 34. Bless you, Tassos. I will never forget you for this. My relationship with my brother can be described as father-son relationship and not brothers, since we have 11 years difference with Tassos. I know my pretty face fool you, but there are 11 years difference. When I first heard that I was going to be the captain of the Ascent, and together with my brother, two brothers, to start a ship for the company we love.
My name is Tassos Kafagis, and I'm a captain on board Celebrity Cruises. The reason I came to the maritime industry is because of my brother. He's my role model. I was so influenced by him, so I applied for Celebrity Cruises that my brother was working already. And I joined Celebrity Century back in 1998, once it was brand new. And I moved on, and 25 years later, here I am as a captain. Since we became a captain, we didn't have the opportunity to work together, and we're always saying how fun it would be if we could do a contract together, even as captains. Now, to do that together with an opening of the newest vessel of Celebrity Cruises, it's like a dream come true.
When he first became a captain, I gave him a Mont Blanc pen and a Warren bead with a cross and an evil eye, and I said to him, have it in your pocket, and when you think that you are helpless, just put your hand in your pocket, rub it, and you're gonna be there.
You mean this one? That's you?
Yep.
Him.
I will say that I might be the prototype, but he is the newer, better version. Captain 2.0, if I may say.
He changed the way captains interact with their guests and the crew. He opened up a big window for all the captains to follow.
Not only congratulations, but thank you. It's such a pleasure and an honor to work with both of you every day, and I can't wait to be on the stage with you on Celebrity Ascent.
Yes.
I bet, knowing the two of you, you are going to have a lot of fun with the guests.
When we both would be dressed up as captains on the ship, I will go talk to them first, and then I claim that I had to go, leave, and Tassos come back, and carry on what I started, and see if they're going to pick it up. And I guarantee
Are they going to get a prize or something if they do pick it up?
They're going to get a dinner with the captain.
Oh, how fun! There you
With
go.
this captain.
With that captain.
Good evening, ladies Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. This is your captain, Captain Cafetis of the Celebrity Ascent. No. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome aboard. This is your captain, Captain Cafetis of the Celebrity Ascent. No, this is your captain, Captain Cafetis of the Celebrity Ascent. No. This is the captain, Captain Cafetis of the Celebrity Ascent. Τι κάνεις εδώ πέρα, ήρθες στο καράβι να μου κάνεις το καφετέλιο. Τι είναι αυτά που λες τώρα, μαζί θα παίξουμε